You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options. Facebook.com/TheOptionsInsider or via questions at TheOptionsInsider.com.
Bitcoin, Ether, Ripple, Litecoin, and more. Cryptocurrencies and other digital assets are taking the financial world by storm. This exploding market provides everything a savvy trader needs: volatility, volume, and liquidity. Provided you know how to find it. That's where we come in. Welcome to the Crypto Rundown. Each week we'll break down the latest trading activity, trends, and developments on everything from coins to tokens, futures, and even OTC options. If it's moving the crypto markets, then you'll find it on the Crypto Rundown. Now it's time to dive into the exploding world of cryptocurrencies and digital assets. It's time for the Crypto Rundown.
Welcome back to the Crypto Rundown, the program where we break down the weird, wild, wondrous, woolly world of crypto trading, Bitcoin, all the other altcoin, all the fun stuff. And we get into the options and the vol and the skew and all that good stuff, the futures here on the old network. My name is Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, the brand spanking new theoptionsinsider.com. And if I sound a little bit different, it's because I'm coming at you from our southern studio today, not from our studio in Chicago. I do apologize for those of you trying to listen live. I've been on vacation, so we didn't have a show last week. And then B, the entire week or so that I've been on traveling here, the live streaming service that we use, Mixler, has had an outage. So we are unable to live stream this program, unfortunately, but you can still get it on demand. That's where most of you get it anyway, on your iTunes, your TuneIns, all those good places. So I was on vacation. I'm still technically on vacation, but there's so much going on in the world of crypto. I got to bring you some crypto rundown. So let's get right to it with a little bit of the old Bitcoin breakdown.
It's time to explore the latest trading activity, trends, and developments across the world's leading crypto market. It's time for the Bitcoin Breakdown.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Bitcoin Breakdown. This is indeed the portion of the program where we break down the craziness that is Bitcoin. And oh, what a run it has been on. It's been 2 weeks now since our last show, listeners, and a lot has happened in those last 2 weeks, I should say. In case you're wondering, on our last show, Bitcoin was a little bit shy of 8,000. 7,933 was the exact level on our last show. Fast forward a couple of weeks, and oh, how the worm has turned. Bitcoin is up over $3,000 from that point. Coming into the show today, it was trading at 11,068. So put that in your pipe and smoke it for a little bit. That's an impressive run for any product, let alone one that people were reading the death knell of not too long ago, just a few months ago, that people were writing in saying how Bitcoin was done, and here we are. Not quite a 4x move since the low, but pretty darn close to it here. This is the new price high, of course, for 2019. The actual high so far for the year, it hit 11,304 earlier, actually today, here on Monday, before a little bit of profit taking kicking in. We saw a lot of peaks and troughs over the past couple of weeks. Even in the past couple of days, we saw it hit another peak a couple of days ago on the 22nd of 11,215. Everyone thought that was the high, and then it dropped back down to 10,416 before rallying back up to where it is today. So we've seen almost 10% swings just over the course of a day or two here. So it's been interesting, rallying 6% just in the last 24 hours or so, again, to over that 11,000 level. So yeah, just impressive moves by pretty much any stretch of the imagination. The lion's share of this action, of course, due to all the drama going on over there on Facebook. They, of course, with their Libra crypto product, I won't call it a coin, let's call it a crypto product. And, of course, a lot of interest in that. That, of course, bringing a lot of attention to the space, driving things north. Of course, a lot of consternation on that now. Some congressional leaders writing in, asking crypto, or actually, I should say asking Facebook to actually halt some of their crypto development work, which is rather unprecedented. But interesting stuff abounds. Clearly, there's some storm clouds brewing on that horizon, but not enough to derail the broad Bitcoin market. We've been on a roll in the last couple of weeks, and that appears to be continuing, at least for the time being. Let's talk some volatility. Vol was spiking on our last program, threatening the 100 level. This is, of course, 30-day realized volatility. Coming into today's show, it's down quite a bit, down about a third, down about 30 odd handles to about 65. We'll talk more about realized vol in a little bit when we get to some of your listener mail here on the program. It has been a fairly active time, maybe not as explosively active as you would think. In the options, let's look at Deribit here over the last couple of weeks. The big spikes came on the 19th with about 30 million value changing hands there, and on the 21st with about 63, almost 64 million worth of Bitcoin options changing hands on that day. The rest of the days, pretty much over the last 2 weeks, were all shy of the 30 million levels. A lot of them at or right around it, 28 million, 29 million, something in that range. But the big spikes came on the 19th, and then, broke 30 on the 19th, and then the 21st was the big spike of 63 million out there. Let's keep on looking here. The term structure of the vol has been an interesting beast to watch of late, and coming in right now, of course, these are the implied term structure we're seeing, which should have a premium to the realized, and we're seeing the spike right now, the peak of that trough at about, looks like the weekly contract expiring on the 5th of July. That's topping out at about a 96% implied vol right now. The weekly contract expiring on the 28th goes out for about a 90%, and we're seeing July and out to Dece still north of 90, all very elevated, but slightly off that 96% level. And looking back to our last show, how things have changed. Last show we were talking about what the options were pricing in terms of probabilities to expire in the money at different price levels. And as of our last show, everyone was fixating on the 10,000 level, and the probability of hitting that by June expiration didn't look too good, but it was 21%. SEP expiration was 22%. Dece expiration 25%. Lo and behold, we hit them. We hit them all. We're north of 10,000, well north of 10,000 as a result. So that goes to show you not all probabilities are created equal. And just because the market is only showing a light probability of it doesn't mean, obviously, it can't come to pass. Let's look here. Let's see what else is going on here in options land. The put-call ratio, I should say, really, when it comes to crypto and Bitcoin, it's the call-to-put ratio. That's where the action is. That's where the attention is. And right now, coming into showtime, it's at about a 65%, which is off the peak. It peaked at about 73.5% back on the 17th. That was obviously the action-packed day because, of course, that was also where we saw some of the big volume on Deribit, but not quite the peak of 63 million, but decent options volume that day as well. Looking out here to the open interest, again, all on Deribit. By the way, this data, of course, courtesy of our friends over there at SKU3W.co. Check it out if you're trading these products. They have great and free data. So get in there while it's still free. And the open interest right now coming into showtime, total options open interest, is at about 635, which is pretty high. That's actually right around the max open interest we've seen on Deribit for options open interest. So go figure, a huge 3,000 handle move over the span of a couple of weeks. It's going to attract some players. It's going to attract some interest, institutions and retail, and we're seeing open interest as high right now as pretty much it's ever been out there on Deribit. The minimum we've seen is about 176 million, and the max is 635, which is exactly where it is right now. Go figure. Usually averages around 350 million, so we're not quite 2x that there, but pretty darn close. Let's move on into the futures. A pretty decent volume today. Let's see, coming into showtime now, that CME Bitcoin future at about 11,130. This is the June contract. Obviously, that's up quite a bit. It's had a good run of late. And decent volume on the tape today, too, about 9,000 contracts. Just in that front June contract, another 1,000 in July, and about 500 in the AUG and SEP combined. No action for Dece. So about 10,000 contracts on the tape today, a little more than that, actually, which is really good volume. Remember, of course, that's a 5X contract, so you're talking over 50,000 literal coins changing hands as a result of that action. Worthy of note out here, they've been setting multiple records out there since our last show. The most recent coming on the 21st. They reached a fourth consecutive day with over 5,000 contracts trading, 58.27. That was that was a record for them, which of course was about 280 million notional Bitcoin. So they're setting multiple open interest. Looking here at the chart for the average daily open interest by month, and go figure, it's exploding yet again. It exploded in April, it exploded in May, and it's exploding yet again in June. Obviously, June not in the record books yet, but so far leaning to be a very strong month here for all things Bitcoin. Speaking of strong months, let's see what's going on with the rest of the crypto market as we keep on rolling right on into the altcoin universe.
It's time to move beyond Bitcoin and find out what's moving the rest of the crypto marketplace. It's time to boldly venture into the altcoin universe.
All right, everybody, welcome to the altcoin universe. This is indeed the portion of the show we break down what's going on in the other products, the other big products outside of Bitcoin, except for right now when we talk about market cap. Remember, take these market cap numbers with a very large tablespoon of salt because volume, total volume-wise, they're probably demonstrably off, but I think percentage-wise, I think you can still say Bitcoin's definitely going to be the leader. I think ETH's probably going to be number 2. So the way you break them down is going to vary, and people have different viewpoints on this, but take these overall numbers with a grain of salt. But number 1 right now, of course, Bitcoin with about 196.3 billion in market cap. Number 2, ETH, 33 billion, a strong number 2. Number 3, we've got XRP, 18.5 billion, so not quite a 2x for ETH versus XRP. Remember, not too long ago, they were wrestling for the number 2 spot. Now XRP, number 3. Litecoin, number 4. Back in our top 5 again with 8.35 billion. Number 5, Bitcoin Cash, about 8.5 billion out there. Let's move on in to see what's been going on, what we've been seeing out here in the world of altcoins since our last show. And spoiler alert, they're all up. It's a pretty easy one this week. Let's start with our old friend Ripple, a.k.a. XRP, up pretty strong again. You know, we talked for so long on the show. When was it going to break north of that 33 to 35, maybe 36 on some extreme upper band days, but it was locked in that mid to low 30s range seemingly forever. There were a lot of headwinds against it. You know, the other coins coming out, the JPM coin and others, some issues with that side of the fence and all the payment coins and payment processes out there. So a lot of things going on in that space that seemed to be forming up some headwinds for the price of XRP, but this week, not so much. Blew through all of those, up 7 cents. It was 39 cents on our last show. Coming in today, it's about 46 cents. So a good run here for good old XRP, breaking into that 40 handle and maintaining it, which is good news for all out there. I know there are quite a few of you who are still bullish yourself. Some XRP. Those of you like ETH, I know a lot of you like ETH. That's another one that's been just on a rocket ship to the moon of late on our last show. A paltry 2 weeks ago. It was trading 242. Coming into today's show, 310. So over 60 handles on this one for just in a span of a couple of weeks. So ETH's been on just an incredible run of late. Another one's been on an incredible run, Litecoin. Remember we talked about that halving coming up. I believe it's in late August. And that event usually drives some bullish price action. That's pretty much what we've been seeing in Litecoin for the last couple of months. And it continued again this week with up about, looks like about 8 handles. Is that about 126 on our last show, coming into today's show at about a 134 and bring up the rear there, but not certainly not by volume movement. It was trading 391. This is, of course, Bitcoin Cash on our last show. Coming into today's show, 472. Just very impressive runs, no matter how you break it down. Pretty much 80-odd handles going on out there in Bitcoin Cash in the span of a couple of weeks. Just fascinating stuff out here. I know a lot of you like your altcoin, and it's been delivering this week. Unfortunately, we have to do kind of an abbreviated show because I am ostensibly on vacation, so I should be heading out. But before I do that, let me answer some of your crypto questions.
You've got questions about crypto. Who doesn't? It's time to find out the answers to your crypto questions.
All right, welcome to Crypto Questions. This is the portion of the show where you guys ask us questions about crypto topics. We also turn the tables and ask you guys questions. Remember at the top of the show, I mentioned that Bitcoin realized volatility number. I said, pay attention to that. It's going to come back into play because we asked you guys last week, even though there was no show, we're still picking your brains on all things crypto. And we asked you, let's play a little bit of a guessing game. Which of these 4 products do you feel has the highest 30-day realized, remember, realized, aka historical volatility, not implied, not anything else. And we ask not to cheat, just try to don't use your brokerage platform, use your gut. Use what your brain and your spidey sense are telling you for what these levels might be. Gave you 4 choices. Tesla, a very volatile equity name. Of course, good old Bitcoin in there as well. Throwing some other commodities in there as well. WTI, aka crude oil, and rounding out the rear, the NASDAQ, aka the Qs. Gave you those 4 choices. Which one has the highest 30-day realized vol? The voting was kind of all over the place, except for the Qs. No one loved the Qs. Only 4% for the Qs. But WTI and Bitcoin and Tesla were all pretty much neck and neck throughout the entire week till the end when Tesla finally pulled away with about 38% of the vote versus 30% for Bitcoin and 28% for WTI. If you listen to some of our other shows last week, you know I kind of weighed in on the Bitcoin front. That one has had some extreme realized vol, even though it has come in by about a third since then. It still is exhibiting extremely high levels that are just difficult to maintain and difficult for other products to match. Even as volatile as Tesla has been, difficult to match those levels. And we have crunched most of the numbers. We're still crunching some numbers. I want to maybe I'll check back in next week with the exact levels. But coming into showtime here today, I mentioned, of course, Bitcoin realized at about 65.25%. Last week when we posted this poll, it was at a 75%. So we can look at it from a couple of different levels from when we posted it versus where it is now. Still very strong either way. Tesla coming into today's show was at about, not quite 50%, about 47.7% 30-day realized. We'll have to go back and make sure, compare and contrast to last week to make sure it wasn't higher than Bitcoin as of the time that we posted that poll, because there's a very moving frame of reference within there. We gave you a whole week, but we want to make sure at the time of posting, that's when we were asking you. And that's we want to make sure that it wasn't higher than, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say it probably wasn't. I don't have that data in front of me right now, but I'm going to say right now, Bitcoin is indeed the winner. Qs are at about an 18.3% realized, so go figure the large, broad index, as volatile as NASDAQ has been of late, it's not going to be as volatile as some of its components, like Tesla. And WTI, another one we're still looking at, because obviously different futures contracts, different months, different terms. The current implied vol out there is at about 40%. I think the 30-day was around a 61%. We have to go and dig in to make sure and compare a couple of different contracts to make sure. We'll be heading over to our friend Nick's Quick Strike platform after this to make sure all of those numbers are correct. But as it stands right now, that 75% as of poll time and 65% coming into this week for Bitcoin is going to put it in the number 1 position, the winner. So all of you out there, the approximately 30% of you who picked Bitcoin, you're savvy folks. Well done. You know your realized volatility. Let's see. We got time for it. Let's do a couple of quick ones. EvilWithin wants to know, can you break down the COT report for Bitcoin on the show? The COT report, if you're not familiar with listeners, is the Commitments of Traders report. This is a lagging indicator that comes out from the CFTC, where they show actually what positions these large reporting and reportable positions are established in different products. For a long time there, and it's still to a degree, this really wasn't the most scintillating of reading. That's why we haven't really broken it down for you on the show in the past. This kind of breaks down commercial positions, non-commercial positions, total positions, and quite frankly, the size positions of Bitcoin futures are still not that big. So this COT report isn't super interesting. I'm looking at the most recent one here as of showtime. This was coming into the beginning of June. Another reason why this is not the most scintillating indicators. It's a lagging indicator by several weeks. And so looking here at the 5 Bitcoin, this is of course the contract commitments, the longs were 28.34, the shorts were 37.63, and spreads 211. And total open interest was 3,000 for long, 4,000 for short. So people leaning a little bit short. That's in the total positions. In non-reportable positions, these are other smaller type positions, about 1,391 for long and about 428 for short. You can find this for yourself. Just search for Commitment of Traders reports, and that'll come up to the CFTC website. Scroll down to Bitcoin. You can see it for yourself. But it's not exactly the most scintillating of reading, because the Bitcoin futures, they're doing much better volume, but still not lighting up the tape compared to something like a Eurodollar, where you need these kinds of reports to really start parsing what's going on out there. So we like to look at the options and the net volume on the futures. But if you're interested, Commitment of Traders reports, search for it on the CFTC website. We'll keep an eye on it if we see interesting things. Another issue, of course, is what's reportable, what's not. You have a lot of wiggle room and gray area in there that we use a lot of things off the reports that we like to look at. So we don't really use it that much, but if you're interested, EvilWithin, everyone else out there, you can find it for yourselves. I gave you a quick cursory rundown of it if you want more CFTC website is the place to go. And Marcus wants to know, what can I use one platform to connect all the major crypto trading platforms instead of having to set up my accounts individually, then pulling them all into one aggregator? It seems needlessly laborious. And also, where's Bitcoin headed next? 10,000 or 5,000? This came in obviously a few weeks ago, our last show. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say, 10,000 for that latter part of that one. Thank you for that, and Marcus. But the first part of your question, if you listen to any of our guests we've had on this program or on our Options Insider radio interview programs, you've heard a legion, quite a few firms, let's just put it out there, let's just say a large number of firms coming in trying to tackle different aspects of this same problem. It all boils down to the custody issue at the end of the day, and who can have access to who has custody of your tokens, who has access to your wallets, and all these things. And the way it's set up right now, a lot of these aggregators, we had a few of them on the show, they do exist, but you still have to go and manually set up. Let's say you want to trade at Coinbase and at Kraken, and then maybe let's throw a Deribit and a few others in there. Now you have to go manually set up accounts for each of those and then fund them, and then go connect all those accounts individually to whatever aggregator you're using. So I'm with you, Marcus. Yes, that is needlessly laborious, but that's kind of just the way the space is right now. It's still kind of Wild West. It's still not exactly ready for prime time from an institutional perspective. This is one of the reasons. And so aggregators, you can't just go set up one account with an aggregator X and they will open accounts at all the different venues for you and then direct the funds and everything else like that. You still have to do all that yourself. So until we see a major overhaul on the back end plumbing of the crypto space, and that's coming. How many firms have we had on here talking about different aspects of overhauling custody and making it faster and more transparent and more user-friendly, particularly for the institutional space? And in the next couple of years, I feel fairly confident saying maybe we won't be exactly where you want it to be, but we'll be a lot closer, which will be nice. But right now, yeah, that's a huge stumbling block. And unfortunately, I don't see it changing the next couple of months. So Marcus, I should say, if you want to go out and do this, you're going to still have to go out and open up all your accounts individually and then find the aggregator you like and connect them all. Unfortunately, I wish I had a good workaround for you. I wish I had a good platform that could do all that for you. They just aren't out there right now. So we're getting there, but not quite there yet. Where we are, though, is at the end of this abbreviated crypto rundown. Again, I'm on vacation, but I do want to get you guys some content because there is so much going out there. Stay tuned to the rest of the network. A lot of great shows still hitting the network all throughout the week. So even though I'm away, the cat is away, the mice are playing out there. Lots of great content hitting the network. Stay tuned for that, and we'll see you back here next week for more of the Crypto Rundown.
The preceding program was a production of the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.